All right, great. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to just continue with the tail end of the fourth Mishnah in the first chapter, just concluding with one idea that Yossi ben Yoezer said, which was, the final thing he said was, drink from the sage's words with thirst. Drink thirstily. So there's a few nice ideas that I want to share. Number one, you can just think about a simple analogy from physical food and drink, that the drinks really help distribute the nutrients to the entire body. It brings it down to the stomach, and then it'll be, from there, it'll be allocated to all the places that need what it need, the different vitamins and minerals and all the other nutrients that we need. So it's the same idea with a person that studies Torah from true sages. His unique portion in Torah is revealed and permeates all aspects of his being. Because when you connect to someone who is like, he's connected to the Torah, which is the source of life, and you get from him, that helps you also connect your soul to connect on high. Oftentimes we need someone to help orient us and to help us align ourselves. So when someone who themselves are aligned and in touch with their true selves and in touch with the Torah and very close to Hashem, so when we learn from a person like that, it can help inspire us and align us to our true mission, our true calling. And to take, and basically so that all those different pieces of Torah, pieces of knowledge, wisdom, character development, everything that we've been gathering, so we can help steer it to the right locale. That's just like the drinks who bring the nutrients to the different parts of the body. With thirst also, like, you can drink something just because you want to have a nice drink, or you can drink, but big difference if you're just drinking for leisure, or you're drinking because you're thirsty, you're parched, you have a dry mouth or a sore throat. You really need that liquid. So it's the same idea, that when you drink the words of the sages, it's got to be someone that's not like you're fully satiated and you just sipping casually. I think, drink with a straw and a little bit of a sip here, a sip there, nonchalant. Drinking's got to be with thirst. Like you really appreciate that and you want that. It's quenching your thirst. You were parched without it, and now you have something that's crisp and clear, and it's giving you vitality. Same thing when you learn Torah from a sage or by yourself from a book or in a class, whatever it is. Person has to be enthusiastic about it, because the more enthusiastic you are, the more you're going to absorb it and integrate it. That's the idea of drinking thirstily. And it's also interesting in Jewish law that there's a law that when we drink something, we have to make a blessing. So, and any beverage that you would drink, you'll have to make a blessing, even if technically you're not thirsty. You want some orange juice, you're not thirsty, but hey, why not? You have to make a blessing. A soda, a coffee, a beer, you're going to drink it. Even if you're not thirsty, you have to make a blessing. The one exception is if you're drinking water. If a person is not thirsty and they drink water, they actually would not need to make a blessing. An example of this is if a person is taking medicine. Let's say he's taking some Tylenol, he's got a headache. And so he's drinking the water just to facilitate the pill to be able to go down smoothly. In that case, he would not have to make a blessing. So, excuse me. Hello, Zimmer, welcome. So in this case,
thanks, Rabbi.
Pleasure. So in this case, where is that comment that I was just looking at? Perfect. Where are we? I lost actually the source, what I was reading from. But the point is, when a person is drinking from the sage, when he's drinking the words thirstily, it's got to be because he has a want for it. He has a desire, a need for it. Because just like water, you can only make a blessing on water if you actually need it, if you're actually thirsty, if you want the water to quench your thirst, right? If you take a pill, you don't need the water. So we shouldn't approach Torah study as like, it's something I got to do. And I got to take it. It's like taking my pill. I don't really want it. I need it, whatever. It's like another casual, nonchalant attitude. Something that's got to be done per force. But here we're saying, no, it's got to be drinking thirstily in order to make a blessing on it. You should absorb it. You should integrate it into the consciousness of his life, day-to-day activities. Thirstily. Okay, that is the end of Mishnah 4, and we're going to continue with Mishnah 5 now. Oh, I found it. I found the comment, and I'll touch on it. So, really, one only derives the benefit and the enjoyment of that water when you're thirsty for it. So he says the same thing with Torah learning, as Rav Hutner used to say. He was a great rabbi from Rosh Hashiva in Brooklyn, and eventually he went to Jerusalem. So he said the same thing with Torah learning. In order to get the proper and maximum benefit from the Torah, a person has to be thirsty for it. A person has to be, thirsty for it. They have to want it. They have to be a pursuer of the truth. It can't just be because it's an intellectual exercise. I'm reminded of an interesting story of Rav Hutner. Oh, that's great. Guys, comment. Okay, that's excellent. Very good. We're going to get to that comment. I'll mention maybe in a moment. Very good. Rav Hutner said he was the dean of a yeshiva called Pachad Yitzchak. And Pachad Yitzchak. Is that the name of the yeshiva? No. I am Chaim Berlin. Okay, I think that was it. Now, he was known to be a person that sought the truth, and he didn't care what anyone said. He was at it's a famous story. He was at a wedding, and he was sitting at the head table with a lot of other distinguished rabbis, and the waiter came with a plate and had two options. It had meat. One was an entree with meat, and one was an entree with chicken. So the people that were before him, one said chicken, the other said chicken, the other said chicken, chicken. Finally, they get to him. He looks at it. He looks at the meat. He looks at the chicken. He says, "I'm going to say it in Hebrew, and I'll say it in English afterwards." He said, "Taiva, gaiva, taiva, gaiva, taiva," which means taiva means I have a desire for food, for physical pleasure. I have a craving. Let's call it a craving. Gaiva is arrogance. So he said, craving arrogance, meaning if I take the steak, it's because I have a physical craving. If I take the chicken, I'm denying who I am. I'm denying my physical desires, and I'm saying I don't need it. And I'm actually very humble, and I'm like the type of guy that could go for the chicken because meat doesn't speak to me so much, and I'll take chicken. It's a sort of false humility. So he said, craving arrogance. I'll take the craving, because he was so true with himself. He was so into the truth of the Torah. Is the Torah of emes, the Torah of truth. So he says, I can't. If I'm fooling myself, what am I? Who am I? This is a person that's drinking the words of Torah thirstily, because they have to come down and permeate me to my essence, to my core, and change who I am. I should be in touch with my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, not to deny them, but to be in touch with them and to try to harness them to serve God, or to eventually try to change them, but to be in touch with the truth. That's a person who drinks the words of Torah thirstily. He wants God's truth. Okay. And the reason that this concludes the Mishnah is because after a person has made their home into a meeting place for scholars, so with words of Torah constantly echoing throughout his halls and through his house, so a person could view the words of Torah maybe perhaps with less respect, maybe because it became a casual thing. So you just come over, we sit at the dining room, we talk, we have a schmooze, we have a class. So therefore we're taught, no, don't look at it like that. Drink in the words of the sages thirstily, because for a thirsty man, there's nothing more meaningful than a drink. And there he goes. Aristo's having a l'chaim. So the point is here, we got to appreciate it. We don't take things for granted and really absorb the Torah. Now, okay, Aristo said, his comment was that today, I didn't know this, but officially it's International Women's Day. And that actually goes well with our Mishnah. We're going to see why. And let's start Mishnah 5. It says, Yossi ben Yochanan, Ish Yushalayim Oimer, he says, we mentioned his name in the 4th Mishnah, but now we're getting to his teaching. He says the following, Yehi veischa pasuach lervacha, let your house be open wide, V'yehu anim b'nei veisecha, and treat the poor as members of your household. We're going to touch on each one of these individually. Va'al tarbe sicha im ha'isha, and do not converse excessively with the woman. Okay, we're going to see who is the woman and what does it mean. And then he finally says, Bi'ishtot amru, that means our sages were referring to his own wife, not to have excessive conversation. That means all the more so, certainly he shouldn't have excessive conversation with another person's wife. Consequently, our sages said from here, they learned from here. Anyone who converses excessively with a woman, gorem ra la'atzmo, he can cause evil to himself. Uvaitel midivei Torah, he will neglect Torah study. V'sofa yeresh Gehenim, and will eventually inherit Gehenim. Now, I'm glad that it's International Women's Day for this teaching, and that I'm not outnumbered. We have an even number here, because on the surface, it could this might seem like, whoa, what's going on up here? So we gotta break it down and see exactly what's the piece of wisdom, the kernel of truth that our sages are gonna be teaching us over here, and we'll get to it. Let's go step by step. So a historical perspective over here is that Yossi ben Yochanan, the man of Jerusalem, he lived in Jerusalem, right? That's his place. And Jerusalem, we know, is constantly flooded with guests. I don't say tourists. Nowadays it's tourists, but then it was guests. It was people coming to the temple, people coming from, Jews came 3 times a year to worship God in the Beis Hamikdash, in the temple. So there's constantly an influx of Jews and of people. And therefore he tells his fellow citizens who would eagerly invite the prestigious and the wealthy guests, he says, also invite the poor, right? That can't afford to stay at hotels and it can't afford all the nice things. Like, those people must be part of your house. So this was a simple, a very practical measure that he was telling his generation is, don't just rush to get the prominent people and the wealthy people and the famous people. No, every Jew is created, every human, but every Jew, this Mishnah they were saying was, is created in the image of God, and therefore don't view a man, he's got more money, he's got more. No, everybody, and invite the poor to be part of your house as well. Now, the Pasuach l'Ravacha, open wide, like we said in the beginning, that the house should be open wide. We have the paradigm for this is Avraham Avinu, that his house, we know he had a tent, and he was known for his welcoming guests. And our sages tell us that his tent had 4 openings because he didn't want to trouble wayfarers or people that were coming over to find the door. Imagine it's a tent. How's he going to find? But imagine you have a big house. You gotta, whatever it is, even if it's a small house. But the point is, like, whatever direction someone is coming from, make them feel welcome. They should feel like wherever I'm coming from, I might be coming from a different. I'm saying this homiletically now. Maybe coming in from a different entrance means my entry point into Judaism is different than yours. I don't hail from the same, say, persuasion. Maybe someone is a non-Hasidic Jew. Someone is a Hasidic Jew. Someone is Lithuanian. Someone is from a different country. Someone is a convert. Someone is a minor. Someone is a woman. Someone is a man. Someone's an elder. You have all different types of Jews. Someone is a Baal Tshuva. Someone that became religious later on in life. And whatever their entry point is, let them feel welcome. The door is wide open. And someone's not religious, it doesn't matter. It's a Jew. Everyone's created in the image of God. The door should be open. It should be wide open for any Jew, whatever their needs are. We're not asking questions. We're there to give. God told us to be givers. So that's what we're doing. The door should be wide open. They should find the entrance, right? They should see you, and they should see your smile and your welcome and say, wow, this is a place I feel comfortable. There's a person I feel comfortable around. And that's a great way to influence people, by the way, is that obviously if they see how happy and confident and comfortable we are with our own relationship with God, with the Torah, with Judaism, so people naturally feel the same way. So that's the first thing. Rich and poor, like I said, just because people have money doesn't mean your house shouldn't be open to them. And furthermore, if a person's guests are exclusively poor or needy people, so they might eventually feel pitied or embarrassed to come in because, hey, this guy's, I'm a nebuch, I'm constantly taking from this guy, and it's only people that don't have on their own can take. So we want to encourage everyone to come over. All right, my place is the house. My house is a house that anyone can stop by. We don't want them to sense they were singled out, basically. So So when he senses, when he sees other people there, the people that have money, people that are wealthy, other people, he's gonna say, hey, this is an open house. I'm one of the house. I'm one of the mainstays over here. Not that I'm just a poor guy that can't handle, life. No. Everyone comes over here. It's also, some read this as a promise that your home will be open to receive the largesse and the blessings from on high when you make the poor members of your house, right? Let your house be open to expansiveness, to bounty. When you have the poor as a part of your house, as members of your house. Another idea, a practical matter, is one of the commentators say that you should try to employ the poor to work in your home. If you need hired help, try to employ them, give them a job. Right? The Rambam says, Maimonides says, the highest form of charity is actually when you enable another person to make money, right? Because they're doing it on their own. So in this case, you give them a job. Say, look, you're hiring them here. I'm not giving you, not a handout, it's not a free ride. No, you have a job. You're a working person. It happens to be okay. You work in my house, fine, but you're giving the dignity to another person, which is the main idea over here. Another comment is that you can employ them to be, if a person is wealthy, employ those poor people to be the ones that distribute the charity that you give out. I mean, if you have a fund and if you have a business and you give away money, whatever it is, if you employ a poor person to be the one in charge of giving out funds to the needy, so that's he's probably the best person to do it because he's sensitive to the needs of another person. He knows what they're going through. He knows their struggles. He knows what they're thinking, what they're feeling. So he's going to be able to give it to them in a dignified way that will, enable them to take, but in a way that they don't feel bad about taking. Once again, it's just the point is we want to make people feel comfortable and unashamed by being part of our house. So we're giving different pieces of advice on how to do that. And alternatively, it's another is like a person should view themselves as humble, as poor themselves. And, when a person looks at himself like a humble person, it's not that I'm so great that I earned all this money and I have a great, a big house and a lot of money. No, I'm humble. It's all God's blessings that he blessed me, but it's nothing because of me intrinsically. It's a gift from God. So a person is humble like that. So he's going to be able to greet the poor with open arms. Not that I'm doing you a favor. No. We're all in this together. I have something, but it's because God gave it to me and I'm here to share it. I'm not any better than you. My financial situation might be more stable than you, but that doesn't mean I'm better than you intrinsically. This is what God gave me, what he gave you. And I'm happy to help and share it with you. So that humility can bring a certain camaraderie when the poor come. And also when the poor come, oftentimes, I don't know where you guys live, but in communities where I've lived, particularly in Jerusalem, you can have people knocking on your door. I don't say day and night, but every day, frequently, you'll have people coming, different times of year, by the holidays, maybe a Friday. People are collecting, and unfortunately, there's poverty in different places. And the Mishnah is saying, let the door be wide open. Sometimes there could be maybe crack the door or slip a little money behind the door. Feeling like I'm scared of you. I'm not saying not to maintain safety. Obviously, to maintain safety, but a person has to be down to earth and realize, you can open the door and have a smile, conversation, offer a drink. Are you hungry? Do you need anything? And then even if you give them a small amount of money, they're going to feel great about it because, this guy was a mensch. He didn't just slip me a quarter, with the door peeked open like this and say, I shoot, bye-bye. No. He gave me dignity, the time of day. He treated me like a human being. You open the door, smile. Even if you don't have money, open the door, smile. I would love to help you. I'm sorry I don't have enough. It's just to give the person, make them feel like a mensch, like a human being, and not to degrade them. Now let's try to move on to the next part. Do not engage in excessive chatter with a person's wife, with his own wife. And he says with his own wife, it was said, all the more so with another person's. And how does this fit in with International Women's Day? Well, every day is International Women's Day. Should be and International Human Being Day. We should. But in Judaism, it says, "Eish is chayil ateres ba'ala," that the woman is really the crown of her husband. In Judaism, we know that we're not chauvinists. women are held in the highest esteem and highest respect. They're even higher than men. It's just that the world is actually, we don't need to get into a political conversation or the state of affairs of the world, but we know that, Judaism, that women are the crown of their husband. And what it's saying over here, there's a couple different points. That one is, obviously the Mishnah is not coming to diminish the love of a man to his wife. It's not like, God forbid. We know that the Talmud tells us that a man has to love his wife as if as much as he would love himself, and he has to honor her more. So, and all the blessing in a man's wife, a man that doesn't have a wife, he's lacking peace, he's lacking blessing, he's lacking everything good in the world. It only comes through her. So the Torah is not coming to diminish that love. The love between husband and wife has to be the richest, most profound love there is. So one idea is that it's not referring to the valuable conversation that needs to be between every husband and wife, and that enhances their relationship. But rather, it's unnecessarily pointless chatter, things that can lead to arguments, things that just I think everyone can know in their own life, like certain things, like it's talking about X, Y, or Z is not going to be for a benefit there, for a healthy community relationship. I'm going to give you examples in a minute. There's some common examples of the Mishnah that they talk about. One thing it says also is like coarse speech, coarse talk that can cause evil to himself. Meaning, a person talks coarsely to his wife, he's causing bad to himself. Like we said, if the wife is the source of all blessing, and he speaks in a coarse way, an angry way, or a lustful way, a way that's degrading, not a proper way. So the wife's not going to feel good about that, not going to be happy. And if the source of all blessing isn't happy, so do the blessings come in as well? Maybe not. So a person the Mishnah is talking in a way, a person has to speak in a dignified, refined, sensitive way. And if you can't do that, so it's better not to talk. The Torah praises the brothers, the tribes, when it says that they couldn't speak to Joseph peacefully. Torah says they were so angry at him because of he having dreams, and they viewed him, they thought he was going for power and for kingship, and it says the brothers couldn't speak to him peacefully. So their commentaries point out that they didn't talk to him. They just they couldn't talk to him peacefully, so they didn't talk. And this is a praise. So why are we going to talk with someone if it's going to just bring up arguments, bring problems? So it's better not to speak. So over here it's saying, be mindful, be sensitive. We don't want to cause pain, cause evil to ourselves, to another person, because it coarsens a person, intensifies. If you talk in a negative way, it can only strengthen, bad drives, hedonistic, like mentality, whatever it is. A person doesn't want to get so unrefined. That's all. A person's got to be sensitive with his speech, with every human being, but all primarily to his wife, who is the most important person in his life. Now, another comment is that Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, he lived in the 1800s. He was one of the leaders of German Jewry. He says the following. He says that, it says ha'isha, with the woman, because the woman is the one in his life. A man who truly respects his wife will have more to offer her than idle chatter for her amusement, right? He's not just, he's going to want to discuss with her the serious concerns of life, and he's going to derive enjoyment from this conversation and from exchanging views and counsel together. So the Mishnah says, don't have excessive chatter. It means it shouldn't be small talk that is like valueless. That's like, it's not worth it. You can have so deep and beautiful conversations that, like, that's what you should be having with your wife. You don't have small talk, go make small talk with your buddies, but your wife, it's got to be rich and refined and deep. There's a famous letter from a great rabbi from the 1700s. He was one of the greatest Talmudic scholars of his time, Rabbi Akiva Eger. In a letter to his children, he wrote, they were suggesting a new match. He should move on perhaps after his wife passed away. And he said, like, how could you think that he could ever move on so quickly? I have the letter here. I'll read you an excerpt. Do you consider me so insensitive and heartless as to rush to accept a marriage proposal while still in mourning? Am I to forget the love of the beloved wife of my youth, with whom God allowed me to raise upstanding, blessed children? The little bit of Torah in me is only due to her help. She carefully kept watch over my health and bore all the financial worries of our home so that I would not be distracted from the service of God. Now that she is gone, I am bereft and emotionally like a broken vessel. Who will pasture our young sheep, meaning his children? With whom shall I share my worries and find some respite? Who will care for me? Which human being knows better than I of her righteousness and modesty? Many times we held deep discussions on that topic related to the fear of heaven until the middle of the night. Meaning this is conversation that we're talking about here. It shouldn't be idle chatter. It shouldn't be something that's just small talk. Obviously, small talk's fine. The Mishnah is not saying you can't have small talk with your wife. Obviously, if that's what's needed, absolutely. But we're just showing there's a lot more. There's a lot of depth here. A marital relationship based on frivolity will eventually deteriorate because such a lifestyle might seem exciting, but thrills wear off quickly, and people will only be left with like a disrespect for each other and a sense of, I'd say, moral shallowness because they didn't give the proper dignity to their spouse. So this is more of the idea that we're talking about when it says don't engage in idle chatter. There's other comments over here, but I think these are the main ideas. The one other I was going to share with you is if a person comes home, what could be causing evil to himself? What does that mean, causing evil to himself? So one idea is like if a person comes home, and I think everyone can see this in their life. You come home, let's say a husband comes home, he has a rough day. And he comes to my wife says, "How's your day?" And he says, "Oh, in the office. Oh, so he did this, and he said that, and I said this." And he's like, sounds kind of maybe, I don't know, juvenile, a little babyish, like you're fighting back and forth. That could be one way. She's like, you fight over such petty things. That's what goes on. So it could run his esteem could be lowered perhaps in her eyes if she takes him to be the person that gets into all these little quarrels and every day it's something, a new bickering, a new problem, like can lower your esteem in her eyes. That's one idea. It causes bad to himself because now he's looked down upon. Or it could be that a wife sometimes can be very very what's the word? She wants to take up his cause, right? So she might get angry at that person, might accept what's called lashon hara, the bad speech, because of course I come to the defense of my husband. I love him, and a person does something bad to my husband, and that could cause strife between her and maybe that person's wife, or her and that person, because he's coming home and he's relating all these negative things, these that's going on in his life, and so it could cause bad to him simply because now different relationships will be ruined between him and his friend, him and the other people, because he's getting his wife involved, and it just needs more people to branch out the argument. So this is more of an idea of causing negativity to himself, either the embarrassment that she might feel about him, or that that will result in having the dispute broadened. Okay. So that is when it's referring to his own wife, and then all the more so with the wife of his friend, because the relationship between husband and wife is the most intimate and close relationship, that only the things, like we said, if we're talking about deep, meaningful relationship and conversation and speech, even small talk, that's what you want to share with your wife. You don't want to share with someone else or your husband or whatever. That's, with your spouse, that's your best friend. That's your soulmate. So you don't want to have increased conversation with the opposite gender. We doesn't want to lead to jealousy or to anything. It's about having proper boundaries and realizing that a relationship it doesn't mean the person can't speak with another, a man can't speak with another woman, or a woman can't speak with another man. If it has to do with business or life or any, if they're a friend, it doesn't mean these are forbidden things. It just means the primary person should be a person's spouse. And I found the letter, actually, another one that another great rabbi, his name is the Chazon Ish. He was came from Lithuania actually after World War II, and he lived in Bnei Brak, and he was a great Talmudic scholar and halachic authority. So he has another famous letter. I'll read it to you. He wrote a letter to newlywed couples, and he said that this dictum of not engaging in idle chatter refers only to frivolous talk meant to incite proper behavior. But one who seeks to calm, soothe, reassure one's mate, or to express affection is permitted and even encouraged to engage in small talk. It's the right thing. It's especially true in the initial stages of marriage when emotional bonding must occur. That in the beginning stages of marriage, like you need to have that closeness, right? We're limited, there are times, like I said, when idle and light talk is encouraged. Not only permitted, it's encouraged. So, and some used to say like that, okay, maybe just talk about the first year of marriage. So I once heard in his name in the Chazon, I don't know where I just think people say it, but nowadays we talk about the first year marriage being like that one where, Torah says you don't go to war, you if you're in the first year of marriage, because you gotta stay home and build the relationship with the spouse. So some say nowadays that extends to not just 2 years, maybe not just 5, maybe 10 years, maybe even longer. A person's got to view his first year of marriage is like every year is the first year, because there's always that newness, that freshness, that the building of the gaining trust and the gaining closeness, where they are coming close to one another. I think we will, and that's why it's all the more so with you don't engage with another person's wife or another woman or another husband, because it's about building that bridge, bonding with the spouse in a very close and intimate, special way. And we don't want the Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, to sneak in. The words that we said, anyone who increases, kol hamarbe sicha, anyone who increases speech, imaisha, with a woman, right? So it can bring on difficulties, troubles. So the words hamarbe sicha, one who increases speech or small talk or chatter, things that are not so rich and so deep. Those words, hamar besicha, the numerical value of those words equal the words in Hebrew, yetzer hara, evil inclination. Because sometimes it's the evil inclination that says, it doesn't have to be so deep, so profound, so rich, and so bonding. It can be just whatever. And sometimes that's the advice of the yetzer hara, the evil inclination, to get in the way and try to get in the way of something good, the source of all blessing, which is the relationship with the person's wife, with their spouse, that leads to all goodness in life. Okay, well, you should all have a great week. Thank you for joining. We'll continue last time. And
I have a question. If you have a second, I have a question.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Why do you think the translators chose? Because I'm reading on Chabad, and it's the same on Sefaria, like this language, like this English translation. I feel like they took some liberties here, like I think the way you explained it was crystal clear, and it's like, well, if you understand what the Hebrew is saying, like why did they use these English terms? Like, for example, in the Hebrew you mentioned it says haisha. Well, why did they say a woman? It should be the woman. Like, that is a huge difference.
You're right.
And we know, like, when it's a, like, you just don't put any definite article, like you just leave it in Hebrew, like you leave it alone. So if they wanted to say a woman, like, in the Torah, when we get laws that like don't do this with a woman or something, there is no ha-isha, it's just isha. It's just
isha.
Yeah, so we know like this is what it's supposed to say. Why do you think they took the approach they took?
It's a good question. It could be because it's a great question. Perhaps they wanted to leave the flexibility to include the multiplicity of commentaries that exist. Now, while the definite article "hey" does imply the woman, like the one woman, like in your life, some might see that as just as one point of the message here. We see, no problem. We got to step out. So saying a leaves it a little bit open-ended, so we can add in more comments, more commentary to that, and get more meaning and depth. But I think it's a great question. I'm not sure why they took the liberty of doing it like that. Yeah, very good question. Anyone else? Anything else? Okay. Fine. Everyone should have a great week. We should only hear good news. All the best.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Thank you.